listening to Your Secret is Safe with Me, non-judgmental talk about infidelity with Dr. Marie Murphy. If you're looking for new perspectives on complicated relationship issues, you've come to the right place.
Days go by, they're crawling by.
Hey everyone, I am Dr. Marie Murphy. I'm a relationship coach, and I help people who are engaging in anything they think counts as infidelity to deal with their feelings, clarify what they want, and make decisions about what they're going to do. No shame, no blame, no judgments. If you are in the midst of an infidelity situation and you would like my help sorting it out, you can schedule an introductory coaching session with me through my website, mariemurphyphd.com. I offer confidential, compassionate coaching via Zoom so we can work together no matter where you're located. Okay. In last week's episode, I talked about some of the things that can happen when two people who are both married and are having an affair decide to leave their respective spouses so that they can be together. What I emphasized last week was that when this happens, both members of the affair couple may start out on the same page. They may think that they have an agreement about what's going to happen and what each of them are going to do. They may think that they have committed to parallel paths of action, and that may feel really good. And in addition to that, they may embark upon this let's both get divorced journey from a place where they are in the habit of communicating with each other about all kinds of things, maybe everything, maybe anything. And they may have been in the habit of sharing a lot of their desires to leave their respective marriages. They may be in the habit of talking a lot about their ideas for a shared future. And they may feel like they're in this really close, intimate relationship that contains a lot of commitment to each other, even if, officially each party is, legally or otherwise committed to someone else. But as I said last time, when both members of an affair couple decide to leave their marriages, their paths begin to diverge. They may have a shared plan or an understanding of each other's plan, but each member of the affair couple has to execute their part of the plan on their own and allow for the fact that their affair partner has to execute their part of the plan on their own too. So in other words, if you and your affair partner are both married or committed to other people, and both of you decide to leave your marriages or your committed relationships, you can't leave your affair partner's marriage for them. They have to do that part on their own. And as I talked about last time, sometimes people leave their marriages really efficiently. And although it isn't necessarily completely painless, sometimes the process is pretty straightforward. Sometimes people make pretty efficient work of leaving their marriage. But sometimes when people actually start the process of ending their relationship or extricating themselves from their relationship, things start to get a little weird. Maybe they realize that they actually kind of like their spouse more than they thought they did. Maybe they start to freak out about the prospect of dismantling their lives or changing things up for their families or all of that. And as all of this is happening, this member of the affair couple may start to pull away from their affair partner a little bit, or maybe a lot. And the member of the affair couple who is waiting for their person to go through with their divorce may be really dismayed by what seems to be happening or what seems to be not happening, as the case may be, within their person's marriage or within their divorce proceedings or lack of divorce proceedings. And this week, I'm going to focus on what can happen if you're in that position. I'm going to focus on what can happen if you get divorced with the intention of forming a non-affair relationship with your affair partner who is still married to someone else. And they told you that they had every intention of ending their marriage so they could be with you, but that either isn't happening in the time frame that you thought it was going to happen, or it's become clear that that is not going to happen at all. Now, as I talked about last week, There's this idea out there that you should not leave a marriage for the purpose of wanting to start a relationship with someone else, or that you shouldn't leave your marriage exclusively or primarily for that reason. And as I mentioned last week, although I think that advice is very well intentioned, we don't have to take it as some sort of rule that you have to follow or else be doomed to a terrible fate. Right. And part of the reason why I mention this, part of the reason why I'm emphasizing this is because I want to make it clear that if you left your marriage primarily because you wanted to have a non affair relationship with your affair partner, there is nothing wrong with you. If you made that decision for that reason, harshly evaluating yourself for doing that is not going to help you now. And in addition, as I said last week, it can be very difficult to completely separate your decisions about your marriage from your decisions about your affair relationship. If you are in love with someone other than your spouse, it can be really hard to completely exclude that from your considerations about what to do about your marriage. And even if you somehow could do that, even if you had that capacity, even if you could somehow make a decision about your marriage that literally had nothing to do with your affair partner, you would still have the opportunity and the capacity and the right to be disappointed if you leave your marriage and your affair partner does not. So, let's say you're married and you're having an affair and you're sure you want to leave your marriage no matter what happens with you and your affair partner. So you do that. You leave your marriage, you get a divorce. You may be sure that that was the right decision for you. But if your affair partner told you that they were going to get divorced too, and you were really looking forward to the potential that that presented, and then they don't get divorced, you may be really sad about that. Even if you were as confident as you could possibly be that leaving your marriage was the right thing for you to do no matter what. And you have every right to be sad. And there might not be any way to avoid being sad. So it's not like leaving your marriage for reasons that are exclusively related to your marriage is going to prevent you from any future negative emotion, right? Now, all of that said, if you were not all that sure that leaving your marriage was the right thing for you to do no matter what, and you consciously or unconsciously predicated your decision to leave your marriage on the upon the assumption that your affair partner would be doing the same thing, you may be feeling more than sad if your affair partner hasn't left their marriage yet. You may be feeling shocked or disappointed or outraged. You may be feeling angry or anxious. You may feel hurt or rejected or unimportant. Now, it's totally legitimate for you to be upset if you've left your marriage and you were really hoping or expecting that your affair partner would do the same. It's okay. It's natural to feel hurt or rejected or tremendously disappointed. However, what folks often do when they're in a situation like this is attempt to remedy their own feelings by trying to get their affair partner to do something in particular or do some things differently. For example, let's say your person told you, your affair partner told you, with what seemed like absolute conviction that they really wanted to get a divorce so that they could be in an above board relationship with you. And they've taken some steps towards divorce and the process has stalled. Or maybe they've said and are still saying that they want to get divorced, but they haven't taken any concrete steps in that direction. The point is that it isn't really clear what's going on. They haven't gotten divorced yet, but neither have they told you something conclusive like, look, I've changed my mind. I know I said I was going to get divorced, but I'm not actually going to go and do that. I'm not going to go through with that plan. If your person isn't moving forward with what you thought was the plan, you may not like that one bit. And you may not like not knowing what's going to happen very much either. The uncertainty of the situation may be killing you. You may think that you are literally going to die or explode if you don't know exactly what is going to happen with your affair partner's situation. You may believe that until you know what's going on with them, you will not be able to find any peace or calm and you cannot make any plans or move forward in any other areas of your life. You may feel like your life as a whole is on hold until you know what your affair partner is doing about their marriage. And in addition to that, or perhaps in response to that, you may be full of questions about what they're doing. If they said they were going to talk to their spouse about getting divorced, but they haven't done that yet, you may be wondering every other minute when they're going to actually talk to them. You may want to know why they haven't initiated the conversation yet. You may want to ask them a million questions about what's holding them back from following through on what they said they were going to do. Are they having doubts about you? Are they losing enthusiasm for the vision of the future you thought the two of you shared? Or what? What's going on? You just want to know what's going on with them. And it may seem completely reasonable for you to ask them about this and ask them about it quite a lot. And this may seem particularly reasonable if the two of you at other points in your relationship have shared a lot of things with each other all the time. If you're used to being pretty well informed about what your person is thinking about anything and everything, you may think that you have the right to know what they're thinking about their marriage and the future of their relationship with you. Here's the thing, people. No matter how close you and your person have been, no matter how much the two of you have shared with each other to this point, they may be going through a moment in their life that they don't want to share with you or don't know how to share with you, or maybe a little bit of both. And there may not be anything that you can do to change that. And as frustrating as it may be for you to not know what's going on, this is an opportunity for you to practice letting your person take care of their own business and an opportunity for you to focus on taking care of your business. As I've said on this show before, there are three kinds of business in life. There's your business, there's their business, and there's God's business or the universe's business or the cosmic business. There are some things that we and only we can do. There are some things that only other people can do. And there are some things that aren't any individual's job to address or figure out. There are some things that may be beyond our human control or our individual human control anyway. And the thing is, most of us spend a lot of our precious time and energy trying to do business that isn't really ours to do, and that more importantly, that we really can't effectively do. When we spend our time and energy in this way, we detract from our capacity to do the business that is ours to do, that we and only we can do. So if your person is moving slowly on getting a divorce and you don't like that, it isn't your job to figure out what they're going to do or when they're going to do it, or to coach them through whatever it is they're experiencing, or to try to compel them to do what you want them to do. It might seem like that's your job, but it really isn't. Your job is to deal with your own emotions and get clear on what you ultimately want in your romantic life, and use that clear vision to help you determine what you want to do in response to what your person is doing or not doing, as the case may be. A lot of people in this predicament say they really love their affair partner, but they also want to be in a relationship with one person who is fully available to be with them. And it's really tempting to think, and so often people do think, that the solution to this problem is for their affair partner to get their shit together and be available to be with them, like they said they wanted to be, like they said they were going to do. And, if you are in this situation, if you're the one waiting, it could indeed end up being the case that your affair partner does get their shit together, so to speak, and does leave their marriage and does become fully available to be with you in the manner that you would like them to be. But that may not happen. And there isn't much you can do to predict whether or not or when this is going to happen. And there certainly isn't much you can do to force a particular outcome or a particular timeline. You may not like that one bit, however. You may want to tell them how you're feeling and beg them to do what they said they were going to do. And it may seem totally reasonable to hold them accountable for how you are feeling. The two of you were on the same page. You were planning your future together. It may seem like they owe it to you to follow through on everything they said they were going to do. And it may seem reasonable to poke and prod them for information, prod them to take action because you think it would make you feel better if they were to do. And what I want to tell you is that you may not find all that much satisfaction from doing that. You may find a lot more long-term satisfaction from recognizing that sometimes plans change. Sometimes people change their minds, and you have every right to not like that. If you thought you and your person were going to be together and that has been thrown into question, you have every right to feel sad and mad and disappointed and bewildered and confused and shaken and hurt and all of the things. But your greatest opportunity lies in being willing to take responsibility for your feelings instead of expecting your person to do things differently so that you can feel better. And when you take responsibility for your own feelings, you're in a much better position to make decisions about what you want to do, right? If your person has told you that they're leaving their marriage, but they aren't doing it or aren't doing it at the pace that you would like, you may think they have all the power, but they don't. You have the power to decide whether you're going to stick around or not. If you decide you're going to wait, you get to decide how long you're going to wait. And you get to decide what the experience of waiting is going to be like for you. If you're willing to tolerate the uncertainty that comes from waiting for someone because you think that someone is really wonderful and you deeply want to nurture the possibility of being with them, that's going to be a very different experience than believing that you have to wait for someone because they're your only shot at experiencing love. If you wait for someone believing that you're going to be okay no matter what happens, even if they ultimately don't decide to leave their spouse, that's going to be a very different experience for you than waiting with the operating belief that your happiness depends on whether and when your person decides to leave their marriage, right? Even if we can't manage what other people do, we can sure as heck manage our responses to what they do and manage our decisions about how we respond to them. And once we start to take charge of that stuff, instead of trying to get other people to do what we want, we gain so much more freedom and peace. Okay, now let's talk about what can happen if you left your marriage with the plan or the hope of your affair partner doing the same thing, and they have made it clear that they are not going to leave their marriage, even though they said they would. Sometimes people in this situation think that they have given everything up, meaning they gave up their stable, comfortable marriage in order to pave the way for their glorious future with their affair partner. And another thing that often comes up is that people think that if their affair partner decides not to leave their marriage, decides to stay married, then that means that they've made the wrong decision to leave their marriage. Now, this is kind of one of the reasons why so many people say that you shouldn't leave a marriage for someone else, right? Because people sometimes feel sad or hurt or rejected or full of regret if the outcome with their affair partner doesn't end up being what they want it to be. That seems to some people like a reason why you should not leave your marriage for someone else. But I don't agree with this logic in any absolute sense. Even if you do get to a point where you've left your marriage and you're questioning your decision to have left your marriage, that does not necessarily mean that you have made the wrong choice. And the reason is that there is no such thing as a wrong choice in any absolute terms. The right decision is the decision you make right. And the wrong choice is the choice you make wrong or decide that you don't like. And you have the power to make the best of any choices you make or have made in life, even if you made those choices for reasons you weren't entirely clear on or don't really like all that much in retrospect. You can still make the best of the consequences of your decisions, and you can make new choices going forward. So to be more specific, even if in hindsight, the decision to leave your marriage doesn't seem as great as it did, as when you thought you and your affair partner were going to be together on the other side of your divorce, you still get to decide what you want your romantic future to look like. And you have the power to make it so. You can get clear on what you've learned about yourself from your marriage and your divorce and from your affair relationship. And you can use that knowledge to inform your vision of the future. And you can work to make your vision of your future your reality. That is totally and always within your power to control, even if the past is off the table, even if the past cannot be changed, right? If things with your affair partner don't turn out the way you'd wanted them to, you can be disappointed, but you don't have to let that disappointment turn into despair or regret, right? You can digest your disappointment. You can let it flow through you. And then you're in charge of what you make the past mean. After you've done your grieving, after you've had all the tantrums you need to have, you are in charge of how you think about what is possible for you going forward, right? You're not doomed to be alone or lonely just because a relationship or a couple of relationships didn't work out the way you wanted them to. And what you think is possible really matters. And this is not in some law of attraction, if you think it, then you will manifest it sort of way. Making change requires action. And sometimes that action takes a lot of effort. Being willing to change sometimes takes a lot of effort. Sometimes doing things differently than we've done them in the past and thinking about things differently than we have in the past is strange and unfamiliar. So I'm not suggesting that simply by thinking about what is possible for you in the future will automatically attract it and you won't have to do anything hard. But I am emphasizing that your beliefs about what is possible will determine your capacity to take the kinds of actions that are essential to turning your desires into reality. Okay. Another thing that happens pretty regularly for people who leave their marriages and are disappointed when their affair partners do the same is they blame it all on themselves. They turn their affair partner's actions into a referendum on their fundamental value and desirability and lovability and worth. They tell themselves things like, oh my God, they didn't choose me. I wasn't worth it. I'm not good enough. Something's wrong with me. And moreover, if they didn't want me, nobody else will. Now, all of these quote unquote explanations for your affair partner's actions can seem really logical and really true. If someone has made promises to us or plans with us and they don't keep them or stick to them, it may seem like the only possible explanation is that we have been rejected for reasons that have everything to do with us. If someone says they're madly in love with us and they've never wanted anything more than to fall asleep with us at night, every night, and wake up with us every morning, and then months later, they end up choosing to stay in a marriage they've told us that they're miserable in, it may seem like the only possible explanation is that they decided they didn't want to be with us anymore because we are deeply and fatally flawed, right? It's so easy to go there. Here's the terrible and wonderful thing about interacting with other humans that we can all benefit from getting our heads around. In a sense, when somebody does something that we don't like, it's all about us to the extent that we are experiencing it, right? When someone makes a choice about what they want to do with us or for us, it is in a sense personal to us because we're involved in the equation. We're involved in the situation. We're there and they're there. But on the other hand, it is also not about us at all. What other people do and don't do is fundamentally about them. And ultimately, we get to decide what we make other people's actions mean for us and about us. Yes, it may hurt like hell if someone we wanted to be with decides they don't want to be with us. We may not like their choice one bit, but that doesn't have to mean that we turn their decisions into an indication that there's something wrong with us or that we can't have the experience of love or the kind of relationship we want to have, or that we're, like horrible, unlovable creatures and we should just like crawl into a hole and die. We don't have to make one person's actions mean those kinds of things about us. We don't have to make any person's actions mean those kinds of things about us. But it can be easy to go there because the underlying concern for a lot of people whose affair partner either hasn't left their marriage yet or has made it clear that they aren't going to leave their marriage is that they're in an all or nothing situation, right? We fear that, if we've given up our stable marriage, even if it was a relationship we really weren't satisfied with, we would have been better off than being with them than with nothing. And now that we don't have our affair partner, we may think that we're really truly left with nothing. Right. And so we can easily get into thinking that because, we've left our marriage and then our affair partner relationship didn't work out, we are somehow doomed to eternal loneliness and aloneness and we'll never, have a relationship that we're happy with again. No one will ever want us again. And I'm going to tell you in no uncertain terms that this is not the case. If you are open to seeing it, you will find that love is all around. If you believe in the abundance of love, you will find wonderful people to love everywhere. You'll find wonderful people who love you everywhere. If you believe that you are attractive and amazing and that there are dozens, if not hundreds or even thousands, of people out there who are also amazing and attractive and would be delighted to be with you, this will be your experience. Now, this will not happen by sheer magic, although it sometimes might seem this way. It will happen because you will be open to taking actions that will enable you to meet people and form connections with other people. If you believe you're hot and sexy and interesting and fabulous, you're going to interact with the world and the people in it in ways that you will not if you believe that you're undesirable or worthless or both. If you believe that there are other people out there who are hot and sexy and interesting and fabulous, you will interact with the world in ways that will enable you to meet these kinds of people and connect with them. Whereas if you believe something like, well, at my age, all of the good women or men or people of whatever gender are taken, you're not likely to take the kinds of actions that would enable you to prove yourself wrong, right? So a lot of people will say things like, oh, like it's impossible to find someone at my age, right? It's never going to happen. And when people believe that, they tend to act as if that is true. They don't try to meet anyone. They sit their pretty little asses down on the couch and they don't go out and volunteer with Save the Whales, or they don't take underwater basket weaving classes. They don't volunteer for beach cleanups. They don't join their local political organization. They don't get out and meet like-minded people. They don't go to the bar or the whatever, or the library. You don't have to go to the bar to meet people, right? They don't get out there in the world and do the kinds of things that might enable them to meet people they really like. On the other hand, if you believe that you can have the relationship you want to have, no matter what's happened in your past, and you're willing to pursue that desire with action, you can have what you want. To that effect, some people find that leaving their marriage only to have their affair partner decide not to leave their marriage ends up being the best thing that has ever happened. Sometimes when we're totally enmeshed in the drama of being in between two relationships, that is marriage and an affair, the stakes of each relationship seem astronomically high. And of course, any particular relationship may be uniquely important to us, and I don't want to discount that. But what we often end up believing is that our current relationship or current relationships are like the only relationships that will ever be available to us. We may believe that, it's either one of these relationships or nothing, or both of these relationships or nothing. And this can be particularly true if we got married pretty young or before we had much sexual and romantic experience, and we stayed in a stultifying marriage for years. And, we kind of like lived in this world of love scarcity or sex scarcity or romance scarcity for a long time. And then we met our affair partner and it was like the most amazing thing in the world. if that's what our situation is like, it may seem like our life experience is presenting, not preventing, but presenting us with evidence that our affair partner is the only source of an experience that's different from the experience we've been having in our marriage, right? It may seem like our choice is between our amazing affair partner and all of that excitement or our boring ass marriage and all of that misery. But that is not quite how it works, people. Yes, your affair partner may have been the occasion for some pretty amazing feelings, but they are not exactly the source of those feelings, nor are they the only person with whom you could experience such feelings. And sometimes what happens is people are sort of forced to realize this, or I shouldn't say that. That's never the case. People are given the opportunity to realize this when they're out of their marriage and they're out of their relationship with their affair partner. And they start to realize, well, if I want to meet someone, I better get out there and meet someone. And when they're open to that, they sometimes start to have these amazing experiences with people other than their affair partner, and their minds are blown. They're like, oh my God, I thought my affair relationship was the best thing that could ever happen to me. But now I'm going on like dates with amazing people like 8 nights a week. Right. And it's like, what? This is crazy. When they start to believe in the abundance of love and great sex and great intimacy and great romantic possibilities, rather than the scarcity of those things, they realize that they really can have whatever romantic life they want to have, right? Even if a particular person decides that they don't want to be with them. And as a result of this, some people end up being really glad that they didn't end up with their affair partner. Some people look back on their relationship with their affair partner and see it as a great learning experience, but not as the kind of relationship they would want to be in anymore. And on the other hand, some people look back on their affair relationship with great fondness and affection, but also with total confidence that things worked out just fine for them, even though they didn't end up with that person. So, in summary, here, if you leave your marriage and your affair partner doesn't or hasn't yet, allow yourself the opportunity to dislike that and feel whatever you feel about that. And then recognize the power you have to make the best of the situation. Recognize that your entire romantic future is not determined by the fate of your affair relationship or of any particular relationship. Okay. It's one thing to hear me talk about this stuff on the podcast, and it's another thing entirely to have me as your coach who helps you apply the stuff I talk about to the specifics of your own life. If you are ready to make changes in your infidelity situation and you want my help in doing so, you can schedule an introductory coaching session with me through my website, mariemurphyphd.com. The value of working with a coach lies in getting to live more of the life you want to live and in doing that sooner rather than later, right? And that's true in relation to infidelity situations or any other area of your life for that matter. Sometimes people ask me like, do I need coaching? Do you think I need coaching? And my answer to that question is always no. Nobody needs coaching like they need food or shelter and water. But the question isn't whether you need coaching or not. The question is, how badly do you want change in your life? And what are you willing to invest in making those changes? Sometimes we really want change, but we just don't know how to make the changes we desire. Maybe we've tried a few things that haven't really worked, or maybe we have no idea what to attempt or where to start. We know we want things to be different. We just have no idea how to get there. And it's times like those when it makes a lot of sense to work with a coach to help you get from where you are to where you want to be in a more efficient and more effective manner. A good coach helps you get out of your own way and maximize your opportunities for growth and transformation instead of wasting your time pursuing strategies that aren't really all that helpful for you. So if you want growth and transformation, then you may not need coaching like you need water every day, but working with a coach may be the best investment that you ever make. And although this is true of like any life situation, I think it can be especially true in the realm of infidelity situations because nobody really teaches us how to live out our love lives in any general way. And no one teaches us how to handle infidelity, right? So when we find ourselves in this territory, it can be really helpful to have a guide who can help you navigate your path forward. And that's the value in working with me. The whole point is to get you out of your stuckness or your suffering and into the life you want to be living. And the benefit of doing this is that when we start to deal with our personal business more effectively, we're much more able to show up in our lives in the way that we want to, in all areas of our lives in the way that we want to. In a sense, resolving your infidelity situation is about resolving your infidelity situation. But it's also about freeing up your focus and your energy to live out the fullest expression of you and your life instead of indefinitely spending that time and energy focusing on a romantic conundrum that you can't figure out how to solve. Many of my clients do pretty big things in the world or want to be doing pretty big things in the world. And it's a lot easier to do that stuff and to contribute in the world in the ways that we want to when we have our personal lives sorted out in ways that make sense for us. Now, last thing on this point, sometimes people tell me that anything that might count as self-help or self-improvement is just a bunch of self-indulgent navel gazing. And I totally understand and agree that some people can and do use quote unquote self-help or self-improvement as a form of self-indulgent navel gazing. But as far as I'm concerned, that's not the point of this stuff at all. The point is that when we can deal with ourselves and our own challenges and our own suffering and our own misalignments more effectively, we are much more able to participate in and contribute to the world around us in ways that benefit the collective. And people, we need as many positive contributions to our collective well-being as we can get. All right. On that note, thank you all for listening. Have an amazing week. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Your Secret is Safe with Me with Dr. Marie Murphy. Make sure to click subscribe to get updates on our latest episodes.